Has a coworker ever asked to pick your brain? Or maybe your English-speaking son-in-law suggested that you just play things by ear. As they do in every language, idioms add charm and color to our speech. Even better, they help us express complex ideas and emotions in just a few words. Because idioms are so broadly used in English conversation, I want to share with you 9 common English idioms we use at work, particularly when brainstorming. Now, to be clear, we don't only brainstorm at work. You also brainstorm with friends and family when you're planning a summer vacation, discussing home renovations, working with one of your kids on a school project, or organizing a community event with your neighbors. All the idioms you learn here today will help you at work and in everyday conversation. But first, if you're new here, I'm Anne-Marie, an English confidence and fluency coach. Everything I do is designed to help you get the confidence you want for your life and work in English. If you'd love to get all of my free lessons on confidence and fluency building, professional communication skills, vocabulary, and more, or if you'd love some free resources including my in-depth How to Say What You Want training, visit my website at speakconfidentenglish.com. To better organize the idioms I'm going to share with you today, I've divided them into 3 categories. Category 1, idioms we use in idea generation, or when we're activating ideas. Category number 2, idioms we use for revisiting ideas. What that means is to go back and discuss an idea later. And then category number 3, idioms we use to guide ideas. In other words, to help shape or develop an idea. Be sure to stick with me because I want to make sure that you know exactly how to use these idioms naturally in English conversations. So I've got a couple of practice questions for you as well. With that, let's get right into category number 1, idioms we use for generating ideas. The first one is to tap into something. This means to connect with or use something in a way that leads to good results or leads to a benefit for you. For example, imagine you're in a business discussion and a coworker presents an idea that you think is interesting, but you're not quite sure. You feel that you need a little bit more information. You might respond to your coworker by saying, I think we need to tap into our customer base to make sure there's a need for that service. In other words, you want to make use of your customer base and benefit from that process or get some information that would lead to better results. Idiom number 2 is to put our heads together. I'm 100% certain you've tried to plan some summer vacations with family members and you've tried to make everyone happy. It isn't always easy. In a conversation like that, you might say to your family, if we put our heads together, I know we'll find an activity that everyone wants to do. In other words, if we simply work together, we'll find what we need. And idiom number 3 for this category is to pick someone's brain. We typically use this when we want to ask a question to someone who has significant experience or knowledge in a particular area. And because of that experience or know-how, we want to get their advice or recommendations. For instance, maybe you and your partner are getting ready to renovate your home and it's the very first time you're taking on a project like this. You have a coworker with significant experience in home renovation. So you might ask your coworker, hey, could I pick your brain for a moment? How do I know which contractor to hire when I'm getting ready to renovate my home? And now category number 2, idioms we used when we need to revisit an idea. These are perfect when you have a limited period of time for discussion and you need to come back to an idea later, or if you feel you don't have enough information to continue the conversation. You need to get a little bit more detail. The first idiom on our list here is to put something on the back burner. This means that you're going to temporarily delay dealing with something or considering it, especially something that is not urgent. For example, perhaps you're at a school board meeting where there's a discussion about how to use some funds in the upcoming school year. You might offer this suggestion. Let's put repainting the school on the back burner and instead focus on how we can invest funds in further developing our art curriculum. The next one in this category is to circle back to something. Just like when drawing a circle, you come back to the beginning point. To circle back to something means that you're going to revisit an issue or a topic at a later time. Not only is this idiom perfect when you want to suggest that you revisit a topic of conversation at a later date because you just don't have time today, it's also perfect in the middle of an interruption. For example, perhaps you're sharing your idea on how to solve a problem at work. Someone else in the group gets an idea and they immediately want to share it, so they interrupt you. In that moment, you might say, "Do you mind if I circle back to you in a moment? I want to finish my thoughts first." In idiom 3 in this category is to play it by ear. What this means is rather than plan every single step, you make decisions as a situation develops. In other words, you go with the flow. Imagine you're planning a large event with friends and family, like a family reunion, and one person wants to order all the food right now, but your event, your family reunion, is still 1 month away. So in the conversation, you might say, "Let's play it by ear. Let's wait and order the food after we have all the RSVPs next Friday." In other words, you're going to delay taking action and allow the situation to develop before you move forward. And now, category number 3, idioms we use for guiding ideas. Think about conversations you've had where you've been encouraged to brainstorm and come up with ideas. In those situations, it's common to have an idea that isn't fully formed. It's just the initial steps. This is when idioms on guiding an idea is particularly useful. It helps others to express their ideas aloud. It helps to develop and give shape to an idea. The first one is to jump the gun. This means to do something too soon, especially without thinking carefully about it. For instance, if you're working with your team on a marketing campaign for an upcoming conference, you might have a coworker who's ready to implement some ideas right away, but you feel that there isn't enough information yet, or there are a few final details that need to be put into place before you implement a particular marketing campaign. To guide your team's focus back to what needs to be done right now, you could say, "I don't want to jump the gun on this. Let's make sure we know all the steps needed for implementation before we begin." Now, in that last example, I just said, let's make sure we know all the steps before, or let's make sure we know all the details before. There's a great idiom we could use in place of those words: to hammer out. To hammer out means to get a clear picture or reach a solution after a lot of discussion. So if we go back to that example, I could also say, let's hammer out the details before we begin. And idiom number 3 for this category: 2 heads are better than 1. As you may guess, this is a shorthand way of saying that it's often more effective to work together with others as opposed to working alone. Perhaps you have a coworker who feels a bit hesitant or shy about sharing an idea because it isn't fully formed. It's just the beginning steps. She feels that she needs more time to get all the details in place, but you know that you might be able to do that more quickly and in a better way by working together. So you want to encourage her to go ahead and share the idea. You might tell her, "It's okay if you don't have all the details worked out. Go ahead and share your idea. Remember, 2 heads are better than 1. As I said earlier, I want to make sure you know exactly how to use these idioms naturally in English conversation. So here are 2 practice questions for you. First, I want you to think of someone you know who has a lot of knowledge or experience in something that you care about, something you're interested in, ceramics, drawing, playing violin, whatever it might be, public speaking. And you want to ask them for some advice or a recommendation. How could you ask that question and include the idiom to pick someone's brain? My second question is, think about a project that you're working on right now, a project where you're still trying to get all the details in place. How could you describe the project you're working on and use the idiom to hammer out, or to hammer out the details? You can share your answers with me in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me in this lesson. It really means a lot to me. If you found it helpful, I would love to know, and you can tell me in one very simple way. Give this lesson a thumbs up here on YouTube. And while you're at it, make sure you subscribe to my Speak Confident English channel so you never miss one of my Confident English lessons. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.